Hey, what's going on? It's Joey Myers from the Hitting Performance Lab, and in this video we're going to talk about how you too can stop head movement with the snapping towel drill. Okay? And the head movement you're probably thinking about is probably not what I'm going to be talking about. But we will go over in this video the swing is a snapping towel. We'll talk about RNT, or reactive neuromuscular training. We'll define that. And we'll talk about beware of the reverse C shape, and this is for more right-handed hitters. Left-handed hitters show the regular C shape. And then I'm going to attach the drill video that I use in the feedback lab, or I give out to my feedback lab online hitters in order to figure out how to do the snapping towel drill. Now, this video has actually been not in the works, but it has been asked for by my readers for quite some time, and I just haven't gotten around to sharing it. And this is actually probably one of the go-to drills that I use with a lot of my hitters, mostly the young hitters, when it comes to getting them into the right or the correct swing position, during the actual turn itself, into that part of it. I actually borrowed this from Chaz. He calls it the lean drill. I think the snapping towel describes it better. But it's using the same principles that we use in actually corrective fitness. So the swing is a snapping towel, and I'll get to the actual, you see this band down here on the ground. We'll get into what that is in a minute. But the swing is a snapping towel. So whether you're watching any elite hitter, whether it's elite softball or you're watching major leaguers, you're going to see some kind of forward movement, some kind of forward momentum is what we like to call it here at Hitting Performance Lab. You're going to see some sort of stride, whether it be a high leg kick, medium leg kick, a low leg kick, a slide step, a toe tap, or even a wide nose stride, shifting foot pressure. You're going to see the center of gravity of the body. You're going to see it shift back to forward, and then possibly back again. At least this is how we describe it to our hitters. So you're going to see some sort of shifting of center of gravity. And any of you can find a video out there of a hitter not shifting their gravity, please send it, because you're probably going to have a really hard time finding one. Hitters that you think do not do it, they actually do it when you look at them under slow motion analysis. Whether it, again, the extreme of shifting foot pressure or the high leg kick, you're going to see this shifting of gravity. So I tell my hitters, I go, so imagine a snapping towel. And of course the younger hitters maybe don't have experience in this yet, but as they get older and they become more rambunctious and start doing the snapping towel with the girls and all that stuff, right? Maybe the girls don't know this yet, until they get maybe a little older and when they have it done to them. But basically you're taking a towel. So imagine this is a towel. This is just a regular, maybe we wet it a little bit, and you throw the end of the towel out. How do we snap a towel? We throw the end of the towel out to our intended target, and then as it gets close to our intended target, we snap it back real quick. So we get that snap at the end, right? Usually located for the leg or the butt or whatever, a butt cheek, right? And so the swing is similar. I'm going to go this way so you can see what I'm doing. So we're going to see some sort of shifting forward. So that's the towel shifting out towards our intended target. And then what's going to happen as we land, as that forward momentum starts to transfer, it's going to transfer into a turning momentum. So we want to throw the end of the towel out, and then we're going to snap it back. And what we're looking for is a line going through that front foot up through the body this way. Okay? So what we do, and I'm not going to go into too much depth of the actual drill, because like I said, I'm going to put the drill video that I use, I'm going to put it up with this video so you'll get the full details of it and how to set it up. But basically, just to give you a picture of what we're trying to do here, is that we will take a band, and just super light bands. This isn't strength training. We're not trying to get super strong, but just get these workout bands. You can get some on Amazon, at Big 5, at Dick's Sporting Goods, whatever sporting goods store you have near yourself. And you can get them in different way. Some of them have clips, or you clip on the handle. Some of them have them already attached. Some have door mounts, which would be great, door anchors. That's great if you want your hitter to be able to work on this on their own without you being there. You can get carabiner, which you can tie to these, which you'll actually see in the video. I use, I think, a carabiner or an eye bolt or something like that. And so you can take carabiner and attach them this way to a fence, but you're going to need to probably have two of these and strap them together, which I go over in the drill video itself, to make a bigger loop so that they're not so close to the fence. It gives them some room to be able to actually fall forward and whatnot. But the bands will go underneath the armpits, high up under the armpits. So we want to attach it higher, because what tends to happen is they'll shift down. If they're too low, the band will shift down to the lower back, and we don't want the lower back engaged in this. So basically somebody would hold these bands out in front This is before I get into the R&T or reactive neuromuscular training, but I want you to see the drill first. So these bands would be pulling me out front, whether it's somebody holding the handles out here, which I do with these with my hitters. I just hold the handles out in front while I facilitate this drill, or it's attached to a fence. And then what'll happen is it'll allow me to do my float and free fall, so I get to fall forward, kind of get the free ride of the bands pulling me. And then what I'm going to do during my turn is I'm going to pull against the bands. Okay, so this is kind of what the drill looks like, just in a nutshell. But what's happening, what reactive neuromuscular training is basically we're feeding the mistake. So a lot of hitters, and what this is correcting is, when we see hitters, they fall forward, and what coaches call lunging, I have a different definition of lunging. Lunging is like I don't call this lunging, landing with more weight coming forward, say 55, 60, like 60% or 55% here, 40% or 45% here, okay? I don't call this lunging at landing, I call this lunging if we swing and now we continue forward. That's lunging to me. Lunging doesn't happen until the actual swing initiates. If we continue forward at the swing, which head movement starts to come forward during the actual turn itself, that head movement is no good. Head movement forward in the beginning and even down sometimes is okay. It's the head movement continuing forward or down during the actual turn, the swing turn itself, is the bad thing. We don't want late head movement. We want early head movement. Early head movement is okay. And I can link to a couple articles at HPL, Hitting Performance Lab. If you're watching this on YouTube, then just click the link directly below below this video in the About section. That'll be the full blog post, and I'll have some links to those. Why we don't, I'm not going to go into detail about the head movement thing, but those articles will. So we want to feed the mistake, which we're going to let the band pull us forward, and then feeding the mistake would be pulling us more this way. So the band continues to pull us, but what we're getting our hitters, or trying to train our hitters to do, is to fight the pull during the actual turn. So we get that snap back. Okay, so that's the difference in the lunging part of things. Lunging to me is actually during the turn. Lunging is not at the stride. It all depends on how that hitter is able to actually get that snap back, and if they're able to get there. So one thing to be aware of though, and this is with righties, so I call it the reverse C shape because it looks like a reverse C. So when they do this drill, what they're going to want to do is, one, they're not going to want to go forward. They're going to want to cheat and try and get back too soon. So they have to know that let the band pull you at first, and then it's a pull, okay? And then so the other thing that happens is they get this, they let the band pull, but then when they pull, they'll end up doing this reverse C. So you can see from my head, if you drew a line down my back, down my leg, you see this kind of reverse C shape. Okay, the head is floating out over no man's land, the rib cage is floating out over no man's land, and then the pelvis is sitting back here. We're getting a ton of shear, we're getting a ton of pressure on that lower back, okay, and that's not what we need to be getting. So a lot of times what I'll do is, that's a lower abdominal issue, so we'll have our hitters do where they'll lay on the ground, and they'll just with their feet on the ground, like in a crunch position, like they're going to do a crunch with their head, just everything's laying on the ground, and they're going to push their lower back into the ground. You can put your hand under their lower back like this and see if they are pushing, but we're trying to actually extend the low back, or actually straighten it out. When you're pushing it in, you're using that lower abdominal to push in. So that tends to be the problem if they have an overactive lower back, or the muscles in the lower back are overactive. A lot of times their hamstrings are tight, so loosening those up as well, that can help. Their glutes are tight, so loosening those up. But the big thing is if you just have them strengthen that lower abdominal, they'll get better at when they do the snap back position. Boom, they'll be in this position. Sometimes I'll hit them just to make sure they're tight there, but sometimes if they don't know what that means and they're in here and I'm doing this and they're like, ugh, they have to learn how to be able to tighten that lower abdominal. Basically taking the pelvis, if it's a bowl of water, when they arch like this, the water is spilling out of their spilling out the front onto their toes, so it's more of an anterior pelvic tilt. So we're trying to get them to go posterior, so spill it backwards on their heels, and that's what strengthening the lower abdominal is. So beware of the reverse C, or the C shape for lefties. Now I want to put this video in. This is the video that we use at the feedback lab of how to set up the snapping towel drill, and make sure that we're swinging smarter by moving better. And also at the end of that video, I will have a message for you. We'll see you in the next part of the video.
Hey, what's going on? It's Joey Myers from the Hitting Performance Lab, and in this video I'm going to explain the snapping towel drill. Most of you understand or have seen or have done a snapping towel. It's where you wind the towel up, you throw the end of the towel out towards its intended target, and then you snap it back real quick to get that whip at the end. Well, this is how the swing is, and this is how I explain the swing to my hitters. What the snapping towel drill does is it looks kind of funky, looks weird, putting a player in these bands, which you're going to see in a little bit. But what it has to do with it's a corrective fitness thing that I learned. It's called RNT, or reactive neuromuscular training. And what we're trying to do is give the brain a signal as to what we're trying to get the body to do, or a feeling we're trying to get the body to do. So essentially what it is it is to feed the mistake. And we'll explain that as we go. But I want you to understand that this is rooted in big time science. We use it in corrective fitness a lot, especially as an example when somebody's doing an overhead squat where their arms are over their head straight, like they're holding a pole over their head, like a snatch. When we have a client squat down, holding their arms above their head, holding a bar, say like a PVC piece of PVC pipe, most of the time people will fall forward. Their arms will kind of come forward as they squat down. So we can do the same thing. We can have them hold on to a couple of bands, which you're going to see here, a couple of these exercise bands. They can hold on to the handles, and then I can hold on to where I'm holding on to it now, have them go into that squat position while trying to hold those handles up. And what happens is we create the musculature to get them more vertical, get their torso more vertical in the squat. So this is a way that we correct things in fitness. How do we set up this drill here? So what you're going to see is I have two bands, and it's kind of funky bands. It has this special coating over the band itself, so if it breaks or snaps, that it doesn't snap somebody. So it's just you can get these at Dick's or Big Five or whatever sporting goods store you have around you. Just get a couple light bands, really light. Doesn't have to be super heavy. We don't need heavy resistance with this. Super light bands. Each band is probably around 10 to 15 bucks. You can get them on Amazon. Doesn't matter where you get them. Just get two bands. So then what you're going to do is you're going to loop one through the other, create a slip knot. For those of you that are good with this kind of stuff, I'm not, so I have to really kind of do some research on this. You're going to create a T with the bands. Then you're going to take the ones in my hands, and we're going to slide and make that through. We're going to make our slip knot with this. So slide it through the handle. Okay, let it fall down. Now you've made a big long bungee. All right, so from there, what you can do is you can either, as the coach, instructor, parent, you can facilitate the drill by holding the two ends of that are free of the handles. You can hold them and then do what we're going to do in the drill. Or what you can do here, as I'm going to show you, is you can take even a carabiner and attach it, which that's an eye bolt, I think, but you can have a carabiner, is a lot easier. You can get it at Home Depot, and you can attach it to a fence, like I'm going to do here. So you can see I'm taking the eye bolt and I'm going to attach it, kind of screw it down, so to make sure that it's secure and it's not going to bounce back and hit our hitter in the face or something. So there it is. You can use like I said, you can use a carabiner for that. Might be a little easier. I lost mine. I don't know where it's at. That's the way to secure it to the fence. Again, if you don't want to do this and you want to be there, I find it's easier for my kids to attach it to the band to do the drill instead of me holding these bands, or I'll have the parent hold these bands maybe through the fence, just because I can get more data or more information by getting a chest view of the hitter as they're doing the drill instead of me getting kind of like a pitcher's view. So that's why I would rather have, plus this also gives the hitter a chance to do this on their own instead of having you be there. So let's go into what the drill looks like. So we got it all attached. We're going to get the hitter to get the bands to come up here. Now this is Chaz Pippett of baseballrebellion.com. He gave me this idea. I took the R&T drill, told him that it actually had science roots. He calls it the lean drill. I like the snapping towel drill because it's a little bit more descriptive of what we're trying to accomplish with this drill. We're going to get the hitter to get the band high up in the armpit. A lot of times the band tends to slip down the rib cage, almost like lower down here. If that's the case, if you have a taller hitter, I usually get this a little higher up here, so it's more of this kind of an angle so that it doesn't slip down as much. But just kind of play with it and just make sure that in between each rep that they're getting this band back up high, because we want to support the main part of the torso in this drill to get what we want to get out of the drill. Okay, so this is kind of how the drill looks. So the hitter will put the arm inside the bands. Okay, if they're outside the bands, it creates a little obstructive environment, and I would rather have them be more free in doing this and feeling what this drill is actually trying to do instead of getting distracted. What we're looking for, these bands are going to be pulling forward. I talked about feeding the mistake. Okay, so their mistake is to, a lot of times if it's a sit back hitter, their mistake is to sit back here and not pull forward. So the first part of the drill is going to pull them forward towards the pitcher, just like we would do in forward momentum or unweighting, right? The Babe Ruth drill. So we're going to let the bands pull us forward at first. We can either break this drill apart or we can put it together. I'm breaking it apart for this drill video, but we're going to let the band pull us forward at first. Then from there, I'm going to pause for a second or two, and I'm just going to kind of go into my turn, what I call like a check swing extension drill. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm letting the band pull me forward at first. I have this slight resistance that's pulling me, and I'm going to pull against it during my turn. Okay, I'm going to pull hard against the bands. You can see the bands flying there. So I'm pulling hard against the turn. And what this allows us to do is this allows us to work on especially back leg mechanics and back foot mechanics. So a lot of times I tend to, when I use this drill with my hitters, is because this band is kind of lifting the hitter's body a little bit or assisting them lifting their body, they don't have to really put as much weight back here because these are like a harness. So they're able to work on this back leg angle a little bit better, getting that heel a little higher, okay, more vertical with the foot. And we can also combine, say, like a back foot variance drill where we have another ball here, another ball here, and we can go between them. So it gives the hitter a better feel of where that foot's at, what angle that back leg's in, and it also gets us into this weight shift idea of we need to go back first, which is kind of like our float, then we go forward, and then we go back again. So I also, another quick one before I finish this video, is I like to use a metaphor too. So with this drill, I call it the gas and brake pedal drill. Or not drill, but gas and brake pedal metaphor. Use that metaphor with my hitter. So here's the back, here's going back with the weight, but we want to go forward or push the gas, and then we want to push the brake, which this is kind of the front leg, right? So the gas pedal is the front leg and foot. In the beginning, we're pushing the gas, we're moving forward, we're accelerating our body, and then from here, then we're going to push the brake. So this front leg's going to extend, and we're going to push into the ground, and like we're pushing on a brake. So those are some things. That is the snapping towel drill. We talked about RNT, or reactive neuromuscular training. We talked about feeding the mistake. We talked about how to set this drill up, weight shift, how it goes back and then forward and then back again. We talked about this idea, metaphor of a gas versus a brake pedal, and we're talking about the front leg and the front foot, and also that we can work on the back leg and foot mechanics with this drill. Makes it a perfect drill to do this. This is the snapping towel drill.
The Hitting Performance Lab wants to know, did you know that reducing ground balls and swing and miss strikeouts has less to do with hand path and more to do with knee action? Have you ever heard, finish taller? To drive the ball, you have to uppercut. Well, we created a free video revealing the results of a scientific study that showed a reduction in ground balls of 27% and an increase in productive balls in the air of 24% over 200 swings without messing with hand path. Click here now to get the video while it's still free.